SFX, radar pings, radio static, wind whipping against fuselage. It started with a blip, somewhere off the coast of North Carolina, at 33,000 feet. An air traffic control operator at Andrews Air Force Base leaned forward, brow furrowing. The object wasn't scheduled. No transponder, no clearance. Yet somehow the craft was there, moving with surgical precision through U.S. airspace. A senior tech nearby leaned in, scanning the data feed. It's military. That flight profile could be an F-117, but those haven't flown in years. The operator hesitated, then keyed his mic. Unidentified aircraft, you are in restricted airspace. Identify yourself immediately. Silence. Then, just before they were about to scramble, F-22 intercepts. A voice crackled through the channel. Calm, controlled, female. Redirecting course. Emergency extraction complete. No threat to assets. And then the feed cut. Complete radio silence. Andrews Base went on high alert. They scrambled fighters anyway. The Pentagon was notified. But by the time jets reached the location, there was nothing in the sky. Before we continue, which country are you watching this video from? Let us know in the comments. We love seeing how far these forgotten stories travel. Location, Falcon Ridge Air Base. Utah, Internal Flight Logs Terminal, restricted access. Major Colton Vance had worked in Air Force operations for 17 years. He thought he'd seen every kind of irregularity imaginable. Until today. He stared at the screen. He'd been reviewing scrambled entries from a corrupted flight data file, standard protocol after any unknown aircraft incident. Then he saw the name. Captain Eliza Reign, Flight Officer. ID 729 Raven 43. His eyes froze. That name. It had been wiped from every file 5 years ago. Officially, Eliza Reign died in a mid-air crash during a failed extraction mission over the Zagros Mountains. There was even a memorial service. He'd attended it. And yet here her call sign was Raven, sitting in front of him. Time-stamped from 7 hours ago. Colton stood up, heart pounding. Get me the original footage from the Andrews radar. Desert winds. Radio chatter. Explosions in the distance. Zagros Mountains. Classified extraction. Oh, Captain Eliza Reign piloted a low-altitude stealth craft through one of the most dangerous hot zones in the Middle East. The mission: extract 2 downed intelligence officers without alerting local militia groups. Her co-pilot Latimer Sanders had reported their bird going down. The black box recovered weeks later confirmed a fiery crash. No remains were found. And just like that, she was declared KIA, killed in action. No investigation, no funeral detail. Just a sealed report. But rumors had persisted. There were whispers of a ghost pilot who still flew when no one else would, who showed up during Black Ops extractions in hostile territory. Always unverified, always unconfirmed. Eliza Reign had become a myth. Fort Wildstone, Nevada, officer quarters, midnight. General Adrian Locke was asleep when the knock came. 3 short raps. Then silence. Old code, SEER protocol. Emergency visitation. When she opened the door, she found a plain manila envelope on the floor. Inside, a satellite photo. A jet, unmarked, flying a tight maneuver near restricted airspace. Stamped in red. Authorized Raven. Locke hadn't heard that call sign in 5 years. She walked over to her bookshelf, reached behind a photo of her former unit, and pulled out a dusty black logbook. She turned to a page marked with an old sticky note. Reign. You shouldn't be alive, she whispered. Falcon Ridge, main hangar, next day. They thought she was just another civilian contractor. The woman moved with a quiet grace, clipboard in hand, inspecting the underbelly of an aging stealth craft. Her clothes were standard, cargo pants, gray top, civilian ID badge. But the crew noticed small details. The way she walked. How she looked at engines like they were old friends. Her posture, regulation straight. One junior mechanic nudged another. She doesn't look like a systems analyst. They were right. This wasn't her first time here. In fact, Falcon Ridge used to be her base. The civilian badge bore the name Eliza R. Nobody recognized her. Nobody dared ask questions. Yet, that night, Reign entered a restricted access code, 1. That was supposed to have been purged from the system 5 years ago. A heavy blast door hissed open. Inside, a private flight simulator room. A place where top pilots trained on classified scenarios. She ran her fingers across the seat, then she sat. The system powered on, recognizing her biometric scan. Welcome back, Captain Reign. Major Vance found her the next morning. You're not supposed to be here. She didn't flinch. You're right. Who authorized this? Reign handed him a sealed order. Vance read it once, then again. Signed by General Adrian Locke. This is real? You tell me, she said quietly. Was the target extracted? He stared at her. That was you, wasn't it? She didn't answer. You were dead. Not quite, she said, adjusting her flight suit, but I need to be now, officially. Reign stood in an empty observation deck overlooking the Falcon Ridge runway. Flashbacks haunted her. The burning wreck, the missing co-pilot, the explosion that sent her aircraft into a canyon. But she didn't die. She survived, dragged herself from the wreckage, and completed the mission on foot. Extracted both agents. Stole an enemy vehicle. Radioed Black Channel extraction. But the moment she returned, she was debriefed, silenced, and quietly discharged under the guise of critical injuries. Her mission had interfered with political optics. Too many secrets. Too much exposure. They erased her instead, and she let them. Until now. The night before, she'd intercepted a distress signal from a downed stealth drone carrying sensitive recon data over Belarusian airspace. No pilot wanted the mission. Too risky. Zero margin for error. So she flew, off the record, off the radar, and saved it. But now she was exposed. By the end of the day, whispers spread again. About a woman who walked like a ghost through restricted corridors, who flew when no one else could, who used to be a name on a gravestone in Arlington, until someone saw her walking across the hangar, eyes scanning the skies. Her name was Reign, and she was very much alive. Hangar Bay 4, 0700 hours. SFX jet engines warming, military boots echoing on concrete. Tension hung in the hangar like humidity. Mechanics worked slower. Airmen exchanged glances more often. The atmosphere wasn't just alert, it was uncertain. Ever since the scrambled flight logs and whispers of unauthorized flight paths, senior staff had been circling, not openly but methodically. One by one, flight crew were pulled into quiet debriefs. Questions were vague, the tone was sharp. And in the middle of it all, still unbothered, moved the woman nobody quite understood. Civilian badge, Eliza R. Job title, Systems Evaluation Consultant. Behavior, anything but ordinary. The only one who wasn't watching her like she was a ghost was her. Eliza Reign walked the tarmac like she'd never left. Her hands ran along fuselages. Her fingers brushed across exhaust, vents like she could read temperature from metal. She was supposed to be invisible. But invisibility has an expiration date. Secure video conference room, 0900 hours. General Adrian Locke sat at the head of a sealed command room at Fort Wildstone. The Pentagon seal glowed faintly behind her on a plasma wall screen. You authorized Reign to operate? A voice asked. I reactivated her temporarily under Section Delta 47. Locke replied, her tone razor sharp. It was the only viable way to recover that drone. That operation was redacted for a reason. She's not even officially alive. Locke leaned forward, which is exactly why she succeeded. A pause. Then the voice returned, colder now. Do you understand the chaos this could cause if she's exposed? If you're asking me to silence her again, Locke replied, I won't. Then hope she stays in the shadows. The screen cut to black. Zagros Mountains, classified airspace, 5 years ago. SFX sirens. Warning buzzers. Engine failure. Captain Reign's voice was calm, even as her stealth craft spiraled out of control. Altitude drop confirmed. Stabilizers offline. Sanders, brace. Lieutenant Sanders was bleeding from a neck wound. Reign grabbed the parachute latches and forced the emergency eject mechanism. One half deployed. Too late. They crashed. The explosion should have incinerated both of them. But she crawled out of the wreckage, alone, with broken ribs, a fractured shoulder and a bleeding eye. The extraction point was 22 miles away. She walked every inch of it with 2 wounded intel officers, slung across makeshift stretchers tied from the chute fabric. She didn't sleep. She didn't stop. And when she got them out safely, she was told to disappear. Base Records Division, 1100 hours. Lieutenant Marcus J. was junior, but thorough. He'd noticed something strange. Someone had accessed Reign's classified logs last night. Someone with top-tier clearance. And someone had also locked them again. But not before a single line item was reactivated. Project Raven, tactical reactivation code Karen 4. Jay didn't know what it meant. But he knew who to ask. Jet hangar, midday. Marcus approached her mid-inspection. You know what's funny? He said casually. Your access logs show up in the same sequence I use when I'm tracing blackout missions, ones we're not supposed to see. Reign didn't look up. Curiosity can be dangerous. So can lies. He glanced at him now. You really want to know who I am? He nodded. She reached into her side pouch and held out a folded patch. The SEALs had tridents. Pilots had wings. But this patch bore only one symbol. A black raven with bleeding eyes, Marcus swallowed. You're Raven. I was, she said. Until they killed me. Andrews AFB, Special Unit Wing, 10 years ago. A much younger Eliza Reign stood at attention. A decorated colonel circled her. You scored top 0.02% on aerial maneuver tests, he said. You're the only candidate to ever pass the dead stick lander trial at night. No lights, no radar. You didn't bring me here to compliment me, sir. No, we're offering you the last job you'll ever have. She looked at the mission folder. Blank cover, no title. Inside was a photo of a target in Siberia. This isn't on any map, she said. That's the idea. Welcome to Black Dawn. Barracks cafeteria. Evening. One of the younger mechanics whispered to another. That civilian chick? She called out a fuselage crack 30 feet away. Just by the sound. Yeah, and she opened the diagnostics console without a key. You think she's actually... I think she's more than what she says. By dinner, half the base was murmuring her name. Not Eliza. Not Reign. They say Raven is back. Colton Vance's office. Late evening. Major Vance pored over old encrypted backups. He finally found it, one that hadn't been fully wiped. Video. Grainy. Infrared. Reign, carrying a wounded officer on her back through enemy terrain. Gunfire lighting up the night behind her. A timestamp. 2 hours after her supposed time of death. The file was labeled Raven, not to be opened, eyes only, command lock. Vance leaned back in his chair. She wasn't a myth. She was proof. Falcon Ridge Observation Tower. Lock arrived at 400 hours. Reign was already there, watching the runway lights blink. You broke the rules, Locke said. I always did. The Pentagon wants you buried again. Let them try. They stood in silence. The pilot community remembers you, Locke added. Even if they don't say it out loud. I don't need statues. Just a cockpit. Locke handed her a new badge. Command Evaluation, Falcon Ridge. You're not just flying anymore. You're watching them now. Reign held the badge for a long moment. I'm not who I used to be. No, you're better. Later that night, a test jet lifted from the Falcon Ridge runway. Flight logs marked it as empty, but someone saw the cockpit light blink. The flight lasted 22 minutes. The radar signature was identical to the ghost aircraft from 2 nights prior. The staff didn't speak of it, but the legend was moving again. The room was silent, except for the soft hum of projectors and secure drives. A classified operations screen blinked red. Unrecognized flight ID. Call sign Raven 9. Reactivated without permission. Colonel Matthew Reed stared at the data stream. She's flying again. His aide, Captain Jules Mercer, narrowed his eyes. But how? The system flagged her status as deceased. Her access credentials shouldn't even function. Reed said nothing. He zoomed in on a thermal map, last night's unauthorized sortie traced across hostile airspace, but perfectly executed, because when Reign disappears, she makes sure it's by design. Underground Air Command, Nevada, 5 years ago, Reign stood at attention as a panel of 4 generals read her final orders. No paperwork, no rank. Just one directive. You do not exist. The file was stamped Black Dawn, Operation Null Vector. She was told, in not so many words, that if she succeeded, she'd never be mentioned again. Survive the impossible, one general said, and your reward is anonymity. And if I fail? You won't be around to complain? Reign didn't flinch. Understood. Falcon Ridge Barracks, morning. Word traveled faster than encrypted signals. A mechanic swore he saw her step into the F-22 hangar and come out with flight gloves. A tower operator said a stealth craft lifted off in total blackout conditions. They gave her nicknames. Ghost pilot. The bird that doesn't show up on radar. The one who died but still flies. Even recruits who had never heard her name now whispered it in awe. Even detractors began watching her with quiet respect. Falcon Ridge Barracks, morning. Word traveled faster than encrypted signals. A mechanic swore he saw her step into the F-22 hangar and come out with flight gloves. A tower operator said a stealth craft lifted off in total blackout conditions. They gave her nicknames. Ghost pilot. The bird that doesn't show up on radar. The one who died but still flies. Even recruits who had never heard her name now whispered it in awe. Even detractors began watching her with quiet respect. Command center. Blake sat alone, eyes locked on grainy, declassified footage of Reign during a foreign hostage extraction. She had been 27 then, calm under fire, wings stitched into her flight suit. A knock. Permission to speak freely? Asked Major Vance. Go. We both know who she is. Why pretend otherwise? Because the people in D.C. don't want the legend back. Vance studied him. And you? Blake leaned forward. I think we don't get to choose who saves us. Especially not when the ones we buried still remember how to fly. Reign moved in silence. Inside Hangar 19, long considered decommissioned, was her old bird. The prototype Shadowhawk X-17. Sleek, angular, cloaked, with radar-absorbing tech still years ahead of public disclosure. It shouldn't be here. But it was, and someone had kept it in pristine condition. Thought you might come back. She turned. Locke stood at the doorway, hands clasped behind her back. They erased the logs, Reign said, but not the memory of how it felt to fly her. You ready to fly it again? Already did. Locke raised an eyebrow. Then you're ready for the phantom briefing. Secure briefing room. 033 hours. Reign stood at the center of a dark room. Around her, holograms flickered. Satellite imagery. Drone intercepts, redacted dossiers. A rogue general named Koresh had resurfaced in Kazakhstan. Thought dead, now preparing to launch an EMP device capable of disabling satellites. His facility was under 500 feet of mountain. No drone could reach it. No foreign asset could touch it without triggering war. You'll be invisible, Locke said. Like always. And if you get caught, I don't exist. Locke handed her one item, her old flight badge. Reign stared at it, emotion hidden. Let's remind them why the dead should stay nervous. Hangar 19, 0430 hours. She suited up. Her fingers trembled only once when she reached for her helmet. The last time she wore it, a man died to ensure her escape. She hadn't flown since. But the moment she stepped into the cockpit, it all came back. Muscle memory, breath control, the sensation of wind even inside a sealed craft. Outside the hangar, Marcus J. watched from the shadows. He saw the launch light go green, and the Shadowhawk lifted off like a myth into fog. Balochistan Ridge, 5 years ago. She was told to observe only, no engagement. But when the informant, a 15-year-old girl, was caught in the crossfire, Reign made a decision. She dove from 20,000 feet into hostile fire, deployed decoy flares, and evacuated the informant. The fallout? Mission success, but political firestorm. Her reward? A silence deeper than any dishonorable discharge. Non-existence. Flight Ops Office. Colonel Reeds called a closed-door meeting. We have a security breach. He played them a satellite video, an aircraft, vanishing mid-air at 50,000 feet. That tech is ours, but it's not in any registry. Another officer spoke. That's Reign, I'd bet my career on it. She doesn't have a career. Exactly. Airspace over Eastern Europe. As Reign crossed the Romanian corridor, 2 F-22 Raptors intercepted her. Standard protocol, identification, then forced landing. But when one of the pilots saw her call sign on HUD, Raven 9, he froze. Wait, is this... Raptor 1, do you copy? He didn't answer. Instead, he veered off silently and radioed command. We just found the ghost, and she's flying again. Siberian Ridge, 19 hours later. Reign glided the Shadowhawk silently down onto a hidden plateau, camouflaged by snow. She crawled the final 300 meters under cover of darkness. No drone could get this close. But she wasn't a drone. Inside, she placed charge packs, downloaded intel, tagged infrastructure. Everything was going perfectly, until a spotlight swept across her path, and a voice spoke in Russian. You're supposed to be dead. She smiled under her breath. That's what makes this fun. Gunshots echoed across the mountain. Reign sprinted through the snow, blood on her temple, flight suit torn at the shoulder. She activated the beacon. From nowhere, the Shadowhawk descended autonomously, opening its rear hatch. As bullets flew, she dove inside, slammed the ramp shut, and rocketed into the night. Mission complete, she whispered. Ghost returning home. Pentagon, black briefing room. She succeeded, Locke said flatly. We didn't authorize this. And yet your satellites are safe. Your secrets remain yours. Your borders intact. One man stood up. Fine, let her fly in the dark. But if this leaks... It won't, Locke interrupted. Because even ghosts deserve silence. The next morning at Falcon Ridge, the trainees were unusually alert. The rumor? Reign had just returned, bleeding, smiling. Someone saw her step out of a stealth vehicle. Someone else saw blood on her knuckles. And now, without announcement, Reign was standing before the new recruits. You want to learn something real? She asked. They nodded. She tossed a piece of tech on the table, a fragment from Koresh's mountain facility. Then let's start with what isn't in your manuals. Reign lay motionless under low light. The bandage across her temple was fresh. The nurse didn't ask questions. She was flown in unconscious, no name, no rank. Yet 5 MPs guarded her door. On the side table, her dog tags, clean, untouched. But instead of a name, they read, Redacted, Level 9 Access. Locke entered, closing the door behind her. You're not supposed to be alive. Reign opened her eyes slowly. Neither are a dozen hostages in the Siberian Ridge. You're welcome. Pentagon. Secure War Room. General Ryland paced in front of a classified debrief board. On screen, the success metrics from the Siberia infiltration. Koresh's mountain bunker destroyed. Data secured. No casualties. 1 operator. 0 air support. Mission success. And somehow this is a problem? Colonel Reeds frowned. We didn't authorize it. She's off-grid, rogue. She's Reign. That was never going to mean retired. An admiral slammed his palm down. Ghosts don't fly unless someone calls them. Exactly, Ryland said. So who lit the beacon? Eyes turned to the only person not sitting. Laka. Cyber Defense Wing, Falcon Ridge. Captain Mercer stared at his screen. 2 weeks ago, encrypted files marked Black Dawn were downloaded remotely. He isolated the intrusion vector. No external IP, no foreign signal. It was internal. He leaned closer. The username, Sparrow Walker 451. That name shouldn't exist. Because Walker, Reign's former squad mate, was declared KIA 5 years ago. Zagros Mountains 5 years ago. Reign's squad moved silently through sand and shadow. Sparrow Walker flanked left, Reign to the right. Their objective? Extract a diplomat from an arms deal gone wrong. But as bullets screamed across the ridge, Walker went down. Reign had tried to pull him out. Fire from 3 directions. No support. Clock ticking. She dragged him 20 feet before the helo extraction. He was bleeding out. Go, he rasped. They'll bury me anyway. You're the one they'll never admit existed. She hesitated. Then left him, believing him dead. But what if he wasn't? Advanced flight simulator room. Reign stood before 6 trainees. No formal rank. No briefing documents. But they listened, like soldiers listen to ghosts. She taught them how to recognize terrain from 3,000 feet without radar. How to breathe through incoming fire. How to use silence as a weapon. One asked nervously, Ma'am, what do we call you? Reign stared out the window. Call me nothing. Then, under her breath, they already erased the name. Parking deck sublevel 4 Pentagon. Locke met Ryland at low 200. No cameras. No paper trail. She didn't just complete the mission, Ryland said. She sent a message. To who? Ryland looked grim. To someone buried deeper than we realized. Koresh wasn't acting alone. And our own system has rot in it. You're saying someone wanted her to die out there. No, I'm saying someone wanted to test her. Locke's eyes narrowed. So they could use her again. Reign's quarters, midnight. Reign opened an encrypted tablet. It took 3 firewalls and 1 iris scan to open the file. Project Ash Code. Inside, her full mission logs, every kill, every extraction, a black box recording from Walker's final mission, and a voice. You were never supposed to see this. The voice was familiar, warped, filtered. It was Walker. Walker's voice continued. They used us, Reign, null vector. Ash Code, we were assets. And when we stopped being useful, they buried us. Reign's fingers clenched around the tablet. You're alive. For now. But they'll come for you too. You were never meant to walk away. Attached were files showing transfer orders, sealed death certificates with digital fingerprints from a single source. Colonel Reeds. Reeds' office, daytime. Reign walked in without knocking. Closed the door. How long have you known? Reeds didn't deny it. Since the beginning. They told me to keep the program clean. You were the loose end. I saved more lives than you ever will. Doesn't matter. You made the wrong people look weak. You made a ghost. I made a myth. They made a threat. Reign stepped closer. Let's see who believes which version. The next morning, the files hit a secure military whistleblower channel. Redacted records. Mission videos. Reign's original orders. It spread like wildfire through defense circles. Veteran forums, encrypted social feeds. The myth had a name again. Captain Reign Maddox, Senate Oversight Committee. The chairman read aloud. Captain Maddox was declared KIA. Her mission logs were buried under Operational Denial Protocol. And yet here she is, training your next generation. Care to explain? General Ryland stood. She saved 100 lives. 2 weeks ago in a place none of you could even locate on a map. That's all the explanation you need. Reign returned to Hangar 19. The Shadowhawk was prepped again. Flight plan encrypted. This time not rogue. Official orders. Her name cleared. Marcus met her at the ramp. You sure you're ready to wear the uniform again? She smiled faintly. I never took it off. They just stopped seeing it. As Reign climbed into the cockpit, Locke held up her reactivated badge. Captain Reign Maddox, active clearance. They erased your name, you just wrote it back. High above, as the Shadowhawk streaked across the clouds, her voice came over encrypted comms. Ghost returning to formation. Let's finish what we started. U.S. Defense Intelligence HQ, Secure Media Room, 0630 HRS. A leaked 15-second clip hit the encrypted military newswire. A stealth aircraft, tail number blacked out, made a high-speed extraction over the Siberian Ridge. Audio confirmed only 2 words, spoken by the pilot. Target secure. Ghost flying home. The video trended within 30 minutes, not because of the mission, but because of the voice. AI analysis matched it to a woman who had been declared officially dead 5 years ago. Captain Reign Maddox, Falcon Ridge, Hangar 17, 0740 HRS. Reign moved through the hangar alone, eyes on the Shadowhawk. Her reactivated uniform was crisp. The name patch Maddox. Her rank restored. But her silence hadn't changed. Marcus approached. He held a folded piece of paper. Official. They want you to brief the Joint Chiefs. She looked at it. No, Reign, this is your chance. My chance? She turned. My chance already cost lives. Now it's damage control. They don't want me. They want my myth. Marcus stayed quiet. Let them build their legends, she said. But I'll pick who learns the truth. Arlington National Cemetery, Section 60, 1300 HRS. A small group gathered in silence. No cameras. No ceremony. Just a black headstone. Walker S. Until the last flight. Reign stood at attention. Locke came up beside her. We ran facial analysis again. And? The voice was his. The file, the feed. He faked his death. Because someone told him to. Reads. Locke nodded. And he's about to disappear. Promotion to strategic desk duty in Alaska. That's not justice. No, but this is closure. Reign placed her trident down. Not as a decoration, but as a mark. NORAD Relay Center, 0240 HRS. A silent alarm triggered at 30,000 feet. 2 unidentified stealth aircraft entered North American airspace, responding to no IFF. Transponder off. Marcus got the call. We have a scramble event. Unknown tech. Ghost class signatures. They turned to the duty officer. We need someone who can intercept at that altitude. He stared at the monitor. We only have 1 pilot rated for that flight profile. Hangar Control Tower, Falcon Ridge. Locke met Reign outside the ready bay. Don't ask me to suit up. I'm done chasing shadows. I'm not asking. She handed her a key card. Reign looked down. It said, Operator Override, Sentinel Response Clearance. You're not chasing shadows, Locke said. You're the only thing they fear. Reign stared at the sky. And what happens when I catch them? Then we end it, for good. Runway 09, 04 Twinyo, HRS. The Shadowhawk roared to life. As it ascended, chatter filled the air defense channel. Ghost is airborne. Repeat, Ghost is airborne. God help whoever triggered this response. Altitude, 35,000 feet, airspace near Kodiak. Reign locked onto the stealth crafts. They weren't foreign. They were ours. Experimental models registered under Black Talon, a deep black ops program. Unknown craft. You are in violation of sovereign airspace. Respond. Silence. Then a crackling reply. Maddox, you were supposed to stay dead. Reign's jaw tightened. Funny, you were supposed to be buried with Walker? You think this ends with a mission? You're just the first crack. We built these ghosts to last. Not anymore. Upper troposphere, Northern Defense Corridor. The Shadowhawk banked. Reign did what she was known for, surgical precision at Mach 2. 2 bogies tried to outflank her. She dropped below cloud cover, using radar shadows. Target lock. First bogey, down. Second looped behind her. She inverted and flipped vector, using his thrust wake against him. Second bogey, disabled. She left both alive. Message sent. Pentagon, sublevel 9, briefing room. No press, no records. 12 men and women. 1 long table. At the head, Reign. We trained assets like me to obey, then erased them when we became inconvenient. And yet here I am. Here because your systems broke protocol, endangered civilians, and tried to bury the truth. She placed the encrypted drive down. Here's your insurance. Here's your exposure. Now here's the condition. No more shadows. No more ghosts. Falcon Ridge Base, East Wing Memorial. A new panel had been installed. Not a government order, not an official monument, just a sheet of steel, laser carved with 17 names that never existed on any military roster. Among them, Reign Maddox, Sparrow Walker, Null Team Echo. Above it, a simple engraving, they served when no one saw. Unknown coordinates, dusk. Reign flew alone one last time. No orders, no mission, just peace. As she crossed into the horizon, she clicked her comms open. This is Captain Maddox. Final check-in. Shadowhawk returning to base. Protocol terminated. They trained us to disappear. To win wars that didn't officially happen. But ghosts don't vanish. They wait. For one final flight, to remind the world that silence isn't absence. It's preparation. If you believe the real heroes aren't always in the headlines, but in the shadows, then share this story. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned to Black and Wronged, where the forgotten legacies take flight again.